highlights, before heat maps, before expected goals, before dawning of legends, football was a dance. It was joy. It was art. From 1957 to 1977, a time when Brazilian player Pelé popularized football, they had a name for this style of play: Joga Bonito, the beautiful game. Somewhere down the line, the music stopped. The art was traded for science. Individual flair was swapped for tactical rigidity. This is the story of how a philosophy from the streets of Brazil captured the world's heart and was sacrificed for simple, cold pursuit of victory. What is Joga Bonito? Joga Bonito is not about winning. It is about the joy of the game, love of movement, and the expression of skill with flair and elegance. A game that is skillful and dignified, not riddled with theatrics and poor sportsmanship. It's a feeling. Joga Bonito was described not just as a team, but as a collective masterpiece that combined individual brilliance with shared joy. This way of playing wasn't born in some fancy football academy. Its roots run much deeper, tangled up in the very fabric of Brazilian history, all the way back to the defiant rhythm of enslaved Africans during the colonial era. In order to hide it from their captors, they disguised capoeira, a powerful martial art, as a fluid, rhythmic dance. This art form, built on free expression, improvisation, and joy, was an act of cultural survival. When football landed in Brazil in the late 1800s, it was brought over by British experts. It was a game for the rich. But it was quickly adopted by the masses, especially in the Afro-Brazilian communities. On dusty, uneven pitches and in crowded streets, they injected the rigid British sport with the soul of capoeira and the rhythm of samba. Tight spaces demanded quick feet, unreal one-touch controls, and imaginative solutions. For decades, this was Brazil's secret weapon, and in 1958, the secret got out. At 17, a kid named Pelé, alongside the genius of players like Garrincha, led Brazil to its first World Cup. They played with a freedom and joy the world had never witnessed. Pelé didn't just score goals, he created art on the field. He proved that Joga Bonito wasn't just beautiful, it was devastatingly effective. Guided by legends like Pelé and the tactical mind of Mario Zagallo, Brazil would win 3 World Cups between 1958 and 1970. The 1970 team is still hailed as the perfect footballing orchestra, a spontaneous, joyful masterpiece. They were the kings, and their crown was Joga Bonito. The philosophy's peak, its most captivating and tragic moment, came in 1982. The Brazil squad that went to the World Cup in Spain was an ensemble of artists. Led by visionary coach Tele Santana, the team was stacked with generational talents, the midfield maestro Falcao and the genius playmaker Zico. Santana's motto was simple: I would rather lose playing good football than win playing mediocre stuff. The team played beautifully, dancing through the group stage and even dismantling a formidable Argentina side, featuring a young Diego Maradona with a breathtaking 3-1 victory. They were the darlings of the tournament, the living embodiment of what football could be. All they needed was a draw against a defensive, cynical Italy side to make it to the semi-finals. Then, disaster. In what is now one of the most famous matches in World Cup history, Italy's ruthless pragmatism went head-to-head with Brazil's artistic idealism. The Italian striker Paolo Rossi, who'd been quiet all tournament, scored a smashing hat-trick. Brazil attacked with everything they had, equalizing twice, but their defensive openness was brutally exposed. The final whistle blew. Italy 3, Brazil 2. The artists were going home. The Brazilian press would later call it the tragedy of Sarria Stadium. That day, a seed of doubt was planted in the soul of football. For the first time, the world had to ask, is beauty enough to win? But the spirit of Joga Bonito wouldn't go down that easily. In the early 2000s, Nike resurrected and repackaged it for a new generation. Their iconic Joga Bonito campaign became a global phenomenon. Hosted by the enigmatic Eric Cantona, a series of viral ads showcased the godlike talents of Ronaldinho, Ronaldo Nazario, and even a young Cristiano Ronaldo. The campaign wasn't just selling football boots, it was selling a dream. It reminded the world that football was about joy, skill, and respect. The very first Joga Bonito YouTube video hit 1 million views and was an ad featuring Ronaldinho hitting the crossbar 4 times in a row without the ball touching the ground. The movement inspired a generation of kids in parks and streets across the globe to try the elastico, to learn the step over, to play with a smile. It was Joga Bonito's last great party. But the ghost of 1982 never really left. The tragedy at Sarria had taught a harsh lesson. Art could be beaten by a system. In 1994, Brazil won its 4th World Cup, but this was a different Brazil. Coached by the pragmatist Carlos Alberto Pereira and led by the tenacious midfielder Dunga, the team was built on defensive grit. The flair was still there, sure, but it was no longer the priority. The result was all that mattered. The lesson was clear. To win in the modern era, the dance had to be a lot more disciplined. Forces of modern football have squeezed the space for that kind of raw expression in today's plays. The game is a science. Elite football is all about coordinated, high-pressing, compact defensive shapes and game plans drilled to perfection. Space on the pitch disappears in an instant. A one-on-one duel immediately becomes a one-on-two. Analytics and data have completely changed the game. A manager sees a player attempt a shot from distance and the data screams inefficiency. Why risk a 2% chance of a wonder goal when a simple pass could create a 35% chance from closer in? From a young age, players are coached to fit the system, minimize risk, and make the safe pass. Many argue that players are becoming more robotic, their natural creativity stamped out for fear of disrupting the team's shape. Globalization has created a great change in plays as well. The days of a Brazilian squad full of players from their home leagues are over. Now young talents are scouted and shipped off to Europe at a tender age, where they are immediately molded by the continent's tactical demands. They learn to adapt to faster, more physical leagues, and that innate samba rhythm often gets coached right out of them. Players who still carry that Joga Bonito spirit feel like relics from another time. Players like Neymar, with flair and trickery, are often slammed for showboating, for not being efficient enough. He's one of the last remnants of a style that just doesn't fit the rigid demands of the modern game. Is Joga Bonito dead? As the main philosophy for the world's top teams, it could be. The joyous, almost reckless, attacking freedom of the 1970 and 1982 teams feels like a distant memory in today's multi-billion-dollar industry. The permission to choose beauty over victory has been taken away, but the spirit isn't gone. It's dormant. You can still see it in flashes in a disguised pass that unlocks a defense, in a moment of individual brilliance that solves a tactical puzzle, or in a player who dares to dribble when the correct option is a simple pass. It survives in futsal, on the streets, and in the hearts of millions who fell in love with football because it was beautiful. The game has evolved. It's faster, smarter, and more athletic than ever. But you have to wonder, in our endless hunt for efficiency and victory, did we sacrifice the very soul of the beautiful game? What do you think? Has modern football lost its way? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the history and culture of football.